everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Rosy Life. So I have a very special treat for you, as I mentioned, of how to feel like a sexy goddess. Can you tell I have someone that's very excited to talk to you today? So this is my friend Quincy Cho. She is an actress and a writer. She writes comedy, and I've already seen some of her stuff, and she's hilarious. And I want you guys to check her out, and I'm going to put her Instagram link below. So, but why I wanted her on here was because I mentioned in my book in one of the chapters about how to practice feeling sexy. And Quincy is also a pole instructor, and she was my first teacher that I took a pole class from, and she was amazing. So without further ado, hi, Quincy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here because you really like nail it when it comes to the get the sexy on with the body. I mean, what you do with your body is like mind blowing. I watch you. I'm like, oh my goodness. And why I want to have you on here was because I remember, and I'm sure you have this experience, you've had it so many times, where I remember when I first walked into the class and it was a little intimidating, not gonna lie. I was like, why am I here?
I was right there with you. Like when I started, I said the same thing to myself. I'm like, what am I doing here? Why am I here?
Yeah. It is. And I think a lot of women are not comfortable with feeling sexy. And I talk about this in that book because there's this kind of like this stigma or this belief that if sexy means bad or like prostitution or something horrible, or it goes against a lot of cultures, religion, because I have women from all over the world that I speak to, and it goes against a lot of the norms in their country and the norms in their religion and those kind of things. So we're taught, many women are taught that sexuality is, you don't want to highlight that.
Yeah.
Right. So then I step into your classroom and it was like all of that went out the window.
Yeah.
Completely. So why I wanted to bring you on was I remember you just really doing a wonderful job at helping, because what you taught and you teach are your techniques, right? And how to move the body. But before you even get there, I clearly remember how you used to speak to us and what needed to happen first, right? It was never what you're physically doing. It was always get into the scene, and you're an actress. So it was always about getting into that mindset. So tell us a little bit about how you teach that.
First and foremost, I think because I have been where you are, when I teach, it's really important to make sure everyone feels comfortable and safe. I've taken classes with teachers who've made that a priority, and that to me signaled, okay, I can play and I can experiment, and even if I'm not comfortable, that's okay, right? So I think giving space to that was really important in creating that atmosphere that was supportive. And two, having also spent as a woman myself, like feeling at odds with my body, trying to use what I've learned from other teachers into my class was really important. For example, I took a class with an instructor who said sexy is a feeling, not a shape. And I just remember that like blew my mind, because this whole time, through we watch shows, movies, we look at ads, and we always see what sexy is. We are sold sexy, right? We are told this is what sexy is, this is what sexy looks like. So I think a lot of times when we decide we want to be sexy, we are emulating other people's as sexy, right? But sexy is not, looking like Beyonce. It may very, very well be, but it's about discovering what sexy looks like and feels like for you. right? So it was really important, just first and foremost to have fun, right? And to get women out of their heads about what sexy looked like. I feel like one of the early exercises we might have done was when we were first like approaching the pole was to approach it like a dance partner, right? I think sometimes we're really leery about that, and just to embrace that this partner is there for you. And two, I think my favorite exercise is as we approach the pole is just to imagine, and I this is also from another dance instructor. Imagine that pole or whatever your dance partner, whoever that is I like to use food just because I'm very food driven. Just pretend it's a donut. It's like the most
I love it.
This decadent sprinkle filled donut, and approach it like you cannot be stopped. Right. And whatever that feeling manifests for you, go embrace it. Right. And if you trip, use that tripping and just land it. Right. And just embrace all of that, because, it's in those little mistakes that you discover like the magic of movement. But until you allow yourself to make those mistakes, you miss out on those opportunities for discovery.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I so remember when you talked about the donut in class. You're like, pretend it's a donut.
Yeah. Or it could be a sex and ice cream, a bar, whatever you want to.
Exactly. Because when you see the pole, you're just like, oh, it's just this metal pole, right? And you don't think too much of it. But as soon as you visualize it being something like a sexy man or a woman or a piece of food or whatever, right? Then you're like, oh, then it changes.
Uh-huh.
Right? Yeah. Something inside you changes.
Yeah. Well, because then I think too, the focus then stops being about like, what am I doing? The judgment goes away, right? Because you're not sitting here thinking, what am I doing? Oh, I feel so weird. I feel so awkward. Why do I look so ugly? And I go through the same thing in terms of like, it never changes. And I think as we were talking before, I also realized, like all things, like sexy is also a journey, right? I talk to pole dancers and like their style changes too. Sometimes, you go from like very ethereal and like in socks and floaty to like badass, like heels and like leather and pleather and everything. Like, so it changes. So sexy to you now might look sexy different. It might look different in 10 years from now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Because you evolve with it. And,
yeah.
And the more you play with it, like you said, when you stumble, instead of saying, oh, I screwed up. And it's like, no, what can I do when I'm down here? Now that I fell, right? How can I use this? Yeah. And I love it. And as you know, I talk a lot about manifesting. This is what I teach people about, is manifesting. And, the key in manifesting is actually feeling or experiencing it right within, so that you physically move. Mm-hmm. Right. So the manifestation starts within you, and then you start projecting it and pushing it out. So you become that woman, you become that role, you become the thing that you desire within. You're like, no, I am this. And then your body and your thoughts and the way you talk and all those things start growing, and you evolve more and more into it. So thank you for sharing about falling too, because a lot of people make mistakes in anything. It doesn't matter what the topic is, right? We make mistakes, we screw things up, but what I love what you said is that it's not necessarily screwing it up. You take that as an opportunity, and then like you flip it, you twist it around into your advantage.
Yeah.
Right. You turn it around and you use it and create something new with it, instead of just saying, oh,
yeah.
Poor me. I'm not as sexy as I thought I was.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is I'll see students and I won't even notice like a mistake, but I'll know it's a mistake because then I'll hear right after like, oh, I didn't do that right. And I was like, no, how you did it was perfectly fine for where you are right now. And because you've never done it, like, so how can you expect to nail something that you've never done before? But it's very interesting to see someone do something very challenging and beat themselves up for something. Like, it's just like, how would you know how to do it? Right. Like,
Right.
And I wouldn't even have known they did it wrong if they had just not said anything.
Right. Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And because you get students that come in from like ground zero, let's say, like they've never taken a class like this. And then I'm sure you've seen students grow and evolve, and you're like, oh my goodness, right? What is that transformation like, watching, like, what's going on in the changes within them?
I think it's really exciting. I feel like with certain students, you see like an aha moment come in where like something clicks and like something about it makes sense. And you can tell it's because they've shown up for themselves, right? Because don't get me wrong, it's like when you first start, the learning curve to pull can be challenging. I came with similarly ground zero background. I didn't really have like formal dance training. So I didn't have like body, muscle memory to like do things physically. And there's days where I'm like, I didn't want to go, but I showed up anyways. And so it's really delightful to see students who show up for themselves and then get to meet that version of themselves where they're like, I can do this trick that I've been trying to do. Sorry, what was the question?
Like, what is it like to see them go from feeling like shy and like butterflying out?
Really cool. I feel like it's like something just like blossoming, and it's very organic and slow, but it's really cool because you just see like an unfurling of a person happening. And the more the person comes and is kind to themselves, that's the other thing I say, because I also know like the language I used to use in dance classes. When you start seeing them practice that kindness, it allows for them to be more creative and to explore, versus when you beat up on yourself for not getting a move, it immediately boxes you in and puts you in a place of like, oh, now I can't do anything. And I say this because I was like that. I'm still like that. I'm still working on my own like sexy journey and self-talk journey.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And like having fun with it.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of it being like, I have to get this. Right. I have to get this. Right. I remember a couple times before I'd go to class, I would visualize myself already getting a move that I was struggling with. And because there's a couple of moves that I probably like, it's going to be starting from scratch when I start again with you. But I remember visualizing and seeing myself and feeling myself actually nailing the move before I'd go to class. And when I do it, I would be like, oh my God, I did it. Right. And the way that I would visualize it is, I remember one specific time you said, I visualize you saying something to me because I did it. And then you said, you did it. And you high-fived me, and you did the exact same thing that I had imagined you would do.
Crazy.
And yeah, so that's, we play with our imagination in every part of our life, in everything we do. And if you make it fun, and like you said, lean into it, what we were talking about before we started recording, right? Do you mind sharing that really quick about what you were talking about? Like, oh, I wish I would have been doing this because it was so easy after all.
Yeah.
We're talking about your writing and acting.
Yeah, I've been taking it quite seriously this past year in terms of like actively pursuing it. I've written always, but not in this capacity. And I've always had friends encourage me to write, and it was just, I would always meet them with resistance and be like, no, I can't, blah, blah, blah. Like the excuses are endless. And to me at that time, I just wasn't ready. And so when I finally did it, the opportunities that have come my way have just been quite amazing. it's been easy. Like, not, I'm still doing work, but the things that are coming my way has been quite easy. And it's just, part of it has just been leaning into something that like people have been actively telling me to pursue. And once I stopped resisting it, it's been flowing.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's key right there. And instead of trying so hard, trying to be perfect, trying to find excuses as to why you can't do it, right? Or why you shouldn't do it. And you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Let me try it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just flowing to you. That's awesome. That's awesome. I also remember, I was going to tell you, when I was getting ready this morning, I thought, in one of our classes, the other instructor, Drea, she said she came in announcing the lap dance class on the chair. And I remember her saying, and ladies, after I did my first lap dance class, that's when I met my husband shortly after. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah. She said, I actually ended up meeting my husband shortly after. And I remember her saying that, and I'm like, that's cool, because and what she was saying is because she felt that, because she became that desirable person to herself, right? She projected that out, and she ended up meeting her husband. But she wasn't doing it to meet a guy, right? She was just sharing her experience.
Yeah.
That she highlighted herself, right? She felt desired first. She felt sexy for herself. And then shortly after, she ends up meeting her guy.
That reminds me of a quote I just read online. It's by, what's his name? Let me get his name correctly. His name is Corey Erlinson. And like my career mentor, Bonnie Gillespie, who's amazing, shared it on her story, and I reshared it. And he goes, you can only connect to the light in others by connecting to the light in you. And I think that just hits upon what you were just saying about Drea's story.
Yep. That just nails it. That just nails it. It's just, you have to change, you have to connect to yourself and change your concept of yourself and how you see yourself. And when you do that, that's reflected back to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing.
Off of what you said about like changing yourself. Also, like, and going back again, connecting this to with what you said about visualizing. What I recently realized in terms of like acting as well is like, help yourself, right? Whatever we're trying to pursue, whether it's professional, personal, being sexy, self-care, it's hard, right? Because we have like certain programming that tells us like we shouldn't do it, we can't do it. So help yourself, do what you need to do to be the best you. So for you, that was visualizing before class, which I think is amazing, because sometimes we just show up and we're like not present because we're somewhere else. And I love that you did that so that you could have the best class, so that you could nail the trick and hear me say, you did it.
Totally. Yeah, it is. It's like being proactive, like proactively deciding, this is what my day is like. This is what sexy is like to me. This is what I want from this, meeting with a producer or whoever. This is how my day is going to go. This is how, right? It's you already imagining, deciding, right? Not just for the big stuff, like people say, like the dream career or the dream house, but every day, like, this is what my coffee tastes like every morning. This is what, right? This is how I want to feel after I take my bubble bath. Whatever it is, deciding before and already claiming it, and it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah.
You really are calling all the shots.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, it's a nice little surprise where you're like, oh, well, I guess it didn't happen the way I expected. Moving on with my life, because I'm going to have a day of enjoyment.
Yeah. That's your stumbling. Like you said, what am I going to do with this then? Maybe this is leading to something else, or to maybe this is still leading me to what I want. Who knows? I'm not going to just stop with a speed bump.
Yeah. yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It's a speed bump, right? And that doesn't mean you need to stop.
Right. Right. No stopping. Well, are there, before we end, do you have any quick little tips that you can give the people watching, like things that they can start maybe like thinking to themselves, in the morning, or think to themselves like throughout the day, that could help them, like things that you would teach your students even, or as an actress, I know you're really good at nailing getting into character. Right.
Um, I think one of the biggest things that have helped me, and this is more like a general practice, is because I'm not very good at it, so I'm working on it myself, is just to like take a moment for myself, because I'm so go, just to like, even in the morning, just to take, and it takes practice too. I'm surprised by how unable I am to do it, but like just to take like the first 2 minutes of my morning just to like stretch, right? Just to have that moment in bed where like, I am here, I am in bed, I am awake. Let me stretch and just like listen to my body and like feel where things are a little bit tight. Another thing I like to do sometimes when I get like activated is like, is this going to be the thing that ruins my day? So then I have a choice, right? And I'm not just upset because I'm upset. It's if I'm going to be upset, let's be upset. Let's not live in this like, I'm upset, but I'm trying to be positive, because that creates more
Right.
anxiety and
Totally.
angst. And then lastly, just like, does it make me feel good?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't make me feel good, like you can just let it go and not think about it. And doing little things for yourself. I think you mentioned like the daily practice, when I was trying to figure out my morning routine, I would try to like make it cute and fun for myself until I got into the practice of doing it. Like, I don't know, I would like spray perfume in the morning in the bathroom just to give myself a little like oomph. And like, if I'm excited about doing something for myself, then like, I think that primes you for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. No, I love it. I love especially your tip about waking up and stretching and feeling your body,
Yeah.
what it needs, I mean, because we're so like disconnected from the body, and those little things, even the perfume, like the senses, all of those things, becoming aware, right, of what, just like, yes, I'm alive, and feeling your body, and just whatever sparks you up.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever will light you up, even just those tiny little things make such a big difference, have a
Yeah.
huge impact on our daily life. So thank you so much again, Quincy. And I'm going to post her Instagram link below. So I encourage you guys to follow her. She is hilarious. I don't know what if you have your clips up still, but you did a little mini.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Still see them. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, those are just so funny. I'm just like, oh my God, I just love these. They're so cool. Can't wait to see what else you do. So thank you again, Quincy. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.